So 5.1 is solving systems of equations, and hopefully we've got, well, not hopefully, we'll either have two quadratics or a quadratic and a linear function. When I'm solving a system by substitution, what I'm going to look for is I want to look for an equation that's solved for either x or y. So we're either going to find or solve an equation for x or y. So for x or y. So when I look at this first example, you'll notice that I have an equation that's solved for y. So once I look, so whether I find one or I solve an equation for x or y, once I do that, then I'm going to substitute in. So I'm going to substitute that equation into the other equation. For a given variable. Okay, so what I mean by that, it's going to be weird. Maybe it's going to show up, maybe not. Oh, yep, it is. All right, so for the given variable. So what I mean by that is I'm going to take that x squared minus 4 and I'm going to substitute it in for the y value in the other equation. So I'm going to go x minus, and instead of writing in y, I'm going to write in x squared minus 4. And then that's equal to negative 2. So I take the value that I have for y and I'm going to substitute it in. All right, and then we're going to solve, okay? The majority of the time, because we have a quadratic, we're going to end up with a quadratic equation. And so we're going to end up having to factor and solve. So we substitute our value in, and then we're going to solve for our variable. The ghost is following me. Usually that means that we're going to have, or we're going to end up with, we're going to end up with a quadratic equation that we need to set equal to 0 and solve. So in this case, we're going to have x minus x squared negative, this is like a negative 1 that we're distributing. So this is positive 4 is equal to negative 2. And then we're going to rewrite that equation into a quadratic. All right, so we're going to, in this case, we're going to, we've got negative x squared plus x, and then we're going to add our 2 over. And so we're going to get plus 6 equals 0. And then remember that we don't like the x squared being a negative. Which I'm not sure why that's not showing up as an x squared. We don't like that being a negative, so we're going to divide everything by negative 1. And so we're going to, if we divide both sides both sides by negative 1, we're going to end up with x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0. And now we're back to just factoring and solving like we already know how to do. So we're going to go 1 times negative 6, which is negative 6. Factors of negative 6 are 3 and 2. And in order to get a negative 1 in the middle, we want the bigger number to be our negative. And so we are going to get that x minus 3 and x plus 2 is my factors. And then I'm going to set those equal to 0. So I'm going to do that over to the side. So x minus 3 equals 0. And x, well, it's going to be squishy. And then x plus 2 equals 0. And then we're going to solve. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. So we get x equals 3. We're going to subtract 2 from both sides and get x equals negative 2. So we solve for the variable. And then we're going to have to take those values So these are my two x values. We're going to take them up and plug it into our equation and solve for y. So that last step is to solve, let's do it in a different color. We're going to take our solutions. So substitute the solutions in to find other variable. And then we've got that last little bit, which we just want to remind ourselves to remember that the whole point of doing this is to find out where our two equations intersect. And so our solution should be points. So when I take these values of 3 and -2, I'm taking them in and plugging them into this equation. So I'm going to say y is equal to, my first solution was 3, so I'm going to go 3 squared minus 4, which is 9 minus 4, which is 5. And then I'm also going to plug it in. I'm going to plug -2 in and get -2 squared minus 4. So -2 squared is 4, and 4 minus 4 is 0. So my solutions then, all right, and I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. My solutions then, I have to do that a little bit different. All right, so then my solutions for this problem, and I'll try to write this smaller next time, are going to be the 0.35 and the point -20. And so that's where this U shape and the line would intersect. All right, so let's look at another one, walking through those steps, and I'll try to write a little bit smaller. So first thing again, remember we're looking for a solution or an equation that's solved for either x or y. And so hopefully you notice that this one's solved for y. And so I'm going to take that y value, I'm going to plug it into the second equation for y. So I'm going to go x squared plus 13x plus 9. And so I'm substituting that in for the y, and then it's going to be plus 9 equals 2x. And then I'm going to, why is that not showing up? There we go. I'm going to take everything and move it to the same side and simplify. So I'm going to subtract the 2x, and then I'm going to combine the 9's. So my equation ends up being x squared, come on, plus 11x plus 18 equals 0. And eventually my computer will catch up. All right, so then we've got 1 times 18, which is going to give us 18 over here to the side. And we're looking for factors of 18 that give us 11. So hopefully we are getting better with this and we get to a 9. And so we know that this is going to factor to be x plus 2 and x plus 9. And we're going to set each of those factors equal to 0. So I'm going to go x plus 2 equals 0 and x plus 9 equals 0. And then we're going to solve our equation. So we're going to go subtract 2. So we get x is equal to -2. And then we're going to subtract 9 to get x is equal to -9. And then we're going to take those solutions and we're going to go back up and substitute it into one of our equations. It doesn't matter which one. I'm actually going to do it in the bottom one because the bottom one, I don't have to square anything. So if I rewrite my bottom equation to subtract 9 from both sides, then I get y is equal to 2x minus 9. So that when I take these values and plug them back in, it's going to be a little bit easier. So my y value is going to be y is equal to 2. And instead of writing in x, I'm going to put in -2 minus 9, which is going to give me -4 minus 9, which is negative 13. And so what that does is it gives me that my 1 point, or my first solution, is the point -2, -13. And I'm going to take -9 and plug it in as well. So I'm going to go y is equal to 2 times -9 minus 9. So this is -18 minus 9. Maybe. I'll try that again. Okay. I thought it was going to show back up. So 2 times -9 minus 9. So this is going to give us -18 minus 9, which is going to give us -27. And so our second solution is going to be -9, -27. All right, so let's do one more. Example 2, kind of the same idea, but notice that they're both solved for y. So I could really substitute either. I'm going to take this one and plug it in for the y on this side. So I'm going to go x squared. So basically, I just set them equal to each other. So x squared minus 2x plus 1 is equal to negative x squared plus 3x plus 4. And let's erase this side and hope that if I do it again, it will show up. So we're going to go x squared minus 2x plus 1 is equal to the negative x squared plus 3x plus 4. And then we're going to bring everything to the same side. So I'm going to go add x squared to make that term go away. We're going to subtract 3x to make this term go away, and subtract 4 to make that last term go away. So now we'll get a quadratic set equal to 0. So we've got 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 is equal to 0. And then we've got a quadratic, possibly. Okay, try that again. This is minus 5x, and this is minus 3. Set equal to 0. And now we've got a quadratic, so we're going to go 2 times -3, which is -6. Our factors of -6 are 1 and 6, and 2 and 3. And I need to get -5. So in this case, to get -5, I want this 6 to be a negative, so that I multiply them together to get a -6, and I add them together to give me -5. And so then, because my value in front is not 1, I have to do box. And so I'm going to get 2x squared. Remember, first term, first box, last term, last box. And then the pair that I picked was actually this one. So we've got 1x and -6x. And then we're going to take out our greatest common factor. So greatest common factor is an x. Greatest common factor is -3. Greatest common factor is 2x. Greatest common factor is 1. And remember, we can always check that just to double check. Okay, but everything checks out. So we're going to set those equal to our 0 and solve. So we're going to go 2x plus 1 equals 0 and solve it. And then x minus 3 equals 0 and solve. So we're going to subtract 1. So we get 2x is equal to -1. Divide by 2. And so from there, you guys can either write it as a fraction or write it as a decimal. It's up to you. So we're dividing by 2. So either write it as -1/2, or you can write it as -0.5. That's up to you. Then we're going to add 3 to both sides. We get x is equal to 3. And then we're going to take those values and plug it into one of your equations. And again, neither one of those are specifically easy, but I'm going to take it to the top one so that I don't have that negative sign that I have to worry about if my computer decides to cooperate. So we're going to take it up and I'm going to put it into the top one. And so with that, I'm just going to plug it in. So I'm going to go y is equal to, and we're going to go either negative 0.5 or negative 1/2. I'm going to do the fraction so I can do it in my head. Negative 1/2 squared minus 2 times negative 1/2 plus 1. And so if I use my calculator or whatever, which I guess I could just do that as well, you can put it in. If it's easier for you to use your calculator, then do that. Whoops. So we've got negative 0.5 squared minus 2 times negative 0.5 plus 1. And so we're going to get 2.25. If you do it like this, then this would be 1/4. This is positive 1. This is positive 1. So either way, you're going to get 2.25 or 2 1/4, however you want to look at it. So that means your first solution is going to be either negative 1/2, and 2 1/4. Or you could write that as negative 0.5 and 2.25. And then you're going to do that again, but you're going to plug in the 3 value. So you've got y is equal to 3 squared minus 2 times 3 plus 1. And so you've got 9 minus 6 plus 1, or however you're doing that. You can put it in your calculator as well. So 3 plus 1, which is 4. So my other solution is 3, 4. And so we've got 2 solutions, which makes sense because we've got a u intersecting a u, so it's intersecting at 2 spots. So that's if we're doing substitution. Elimination is pretty much the same. I prefer substitution whenever I can do substitution. So even if it tells you to do elimination, I think substitution is easier when you're working with quadratics. So I'm just going to leave you with that, and let me know if you have any questions.